The morning is cold and silent. You're upon the plateau of the birthing bell. There's no sound, no wind. The sky is a smooth, smothered grey. The forest beneath the plateau, nothing more than a jagged black silhouette. Even the rock in the earth around you, it feels colder. The sun's warm, bled from it. Against the cold backdrop of the sky, you see the great birthing bell, hanging from its arch of Adra. Its surface is tarnished. The shadows inside the bell are dark, still. It seems to press down upon you. Or simply, sadly, watching. You're standing above a grave formed from the table of the plateau, the remains of the mother's womb that now covers its surface. There's something heavy in your hands. It breathes, gurgling, slick and wet. Yet that is all it is. You find yourself filled with fear. You don't want to look at what you're holding, you don't want to touch it with your mind, and it is all you can do not to cast it from you. Yet show me what lies in your hands. The mass before you is vacant, flesh in the shape of a newborn. Bubbles of saliva burnish at the mouth, expelled by its steady, gurgling breath. Arms, legs, head lolling, limp. No thought, no struggle, no desire to cry in protest or pain. Nothing from within. There's an absence in your hands. Your hands tremble, shake. The silence is broken. The chimes on your wrist echo with the trembling. The chimes do not echo in the thoughts of the mass in your hands. There's no soul within to hear it. Reach out with your thoughts. The only emotions blanketing the plateau are the pain of the mother. The child breathes, its heart beats, but it makes no cry. The child feels light, empty. There's no joy in it, no fear, no thoughts at all. Yet in the hollows inside it, it breathes. A thing of habit, not life. You cannot move. Your trembling has subsided. The bursting chimes on your wrists are still as the child. The mother is crying, eager to see, begging to see the child. You feel a sudden spike of fear, being hunted. You give the child to the mother, you will be blamed, and her anguish and rage will fall upon you. She will not spare you or anyone you love, this you are certain. But you did not cause this. You don't think you caused it. That the mother begs, her arms outstretched. Hand her the child. The chimes sound once more as you give the child to its mother, and as the chime fades, there's the eager gleam, wedding joy, the questioning. And you draw upon it deeply, letting the hope stream into her eyes, letting her ears fill with the cries that you have heard countless times past from other children on the bell. You hear the laughter in the mother's voice, and streams of tears that run down her face. And with a practiced motion, you weave a life that will never be into her eyes and thoughts. She will care for the child, as if it were whole, until you set her free. She will care for it until you find a way to heal what has happened, till the reality cannot be dispelled anymore. And still, cradled beneath the weeping woman that bursted, the child in her arms does not hear the cries of the mother, does not react. It is an empty thing that breathes, and there is nothing within it. The chimes on your wrists lie still. They are bound to you like chains, never to sound inside a newborn's mind ever again. That does not sound well.
Your mind comes bearing questions, Watcher.
Indeed. I saw a hollowborn at the birthing bell. The grieving mother's head bows, and she raises her hands, cradling them slowly, so the chimes do not sound as she moves them. You feel a chill in the air, as if the vault of your mind is growing, too large for the thoughts within, and your breath is laced with a chill. To your horror, you hear her breathing, ragged, hacking, but strangely steady. You see saliva bunching at the corners of her lips, forming thick ropes of drool that cast themselves down her chin. There's the smell of blood in the air, new, wet, the salt, sharp tang in your mind. Coupled with this is the smell of sodden undergarments clawing at your senses. You alright? He doesn't answer. You don't think she even heard the question, or even knows someone is speaking to her. You sense no thoughts, no awareness from her at all. Her clothes are wet, chest, as if she's burning with fever beneath her tangled hair, beneath her threadbare robes, as if she is giving birth. With a slow hissing intake of breath, her head rolls back on her shoulders, her eyes pressed tightly together, like the lids of a newborn. Yet past the lids, you feel a piercing stare, vacant, cold. Horribly, you sense nothing from her, not a thought, like the hollow bone you held in her memory. You know if you try and pull away now, she will vanish into herself, and vanish from your thoughts, perhaps forever. You have a terrible feeling that whatever connects the two of you will be cut. She is helpless before you as a child, and you search your thoughts for a way to coax her to you. It's shared memory of peace and comfort. She jerks slightly before you, then her head tilts and the steady breathing breaks. She gives a wrecking cry.
Thought it was my doing. I thought that I had stilled it with my thoughts. The child. It was just a child. What was done with it?
It was a reverse of the previous memory. The child was born dead. Breathing is steady again, but there's a knife in it. But there was not one before. Her emotions are building in her. Apprehension, confusion, welling up. She seems afraid to do more than simply be aware the memory is there.
It was not the last hollow born on the birthing bell. And never again did I hear a child's cry.
You found a death within me, one that many women have borne within them. The words swell with impulses and weight, spiraling around her. You feel as if you are being dragged into it. I sought to serve woman in need, instead my hands ushered no new life. But next I bear the responsibility for. What happened next?
The first birth was the deepest, the saddest. Nothing I could do could find the child's spirit, guide it to him.
You feel a strange absence between you, as if your thoughts are being shared across a great distance. The thought bleeds out for a moment, then returns, sharp, near, personal. I could not understand what had happened, what I might have done. I feared would not dwell on that thought. The child was always there, always a reminder of what had happened, a marker. I made her care for it, I made them all care for it, till I could find a way. Find what had gone wrong. You made her care for it.
It was worse. I made her think it was whole, and then more births came to the bell, all as before, and many were the minds I had to change. A circle of...
But the holobond, that wasn't your doing, you know? It happened elsewhere.
Little word of the outside world reached us. It was enough time for rage and pain and grief to guide hands. I feared what would happen to the children, what would happen to me. Every mother knows her womb may shed a stillborn, but these cold, soulless creatures, the parents wouldn't have understood, and fear of the unknown breeds violence.
That it does indeed. What happened then?
I held their minds within mine. I shaped and guided them as long as I could, and with each passing day, each new birth, the strain grew. And the more I felt my control slipping, the more I focused my thoughts. Eventually, even I succumbed to the power of my own illusion. I'd woven the threads so tightly that I could no longer see through them.
That's a problem. And then, one morning, I heard funeral bells tolling in the village. The sounds of wailing rose through the mists. A mother had died, her mind so focused on the care of her hollow-born child, she'd neglected even to feed herself. And with that, the illusion broke. The townsfolk saw their hollow bone the way they were, not the way I'd wished them to see. At the end of the day, they began to look at me differently too. Did not understand what had happened, but I knew enough to flee. Every suspicion that surfaced, every faded memory of what I've done, I pressed it down, tucked it away. She feels cold, lonely, rigid. My skill failed me, but I did what was necessary. I regret the mother's death. So much worse. Would it have been had I not acted? Well, I understand. You kinda had to defend yourself.
Yes, and yet, was the mother not also innocent?
Yep.
Did
Yeah,
she
she
not
was.
also deserve my protection? I feel the purity of my reasons, and yet little satisfaction for what I've done.
Well, that is how it usually is. You did what was necessary. That does not necessarily mean that you feel good about it. The right thing is not always easy, and yet if we can redeem the lost children of the Drywood, our struggle will be worth it. Yulima's mind is silent, and still for several moments. She lets your words wash over her, seeping into the cracks in her own thoughts.
My actions only caused more misery. Worse, I took from an entire village,
Well, you
made them
did your
as
best.
empty and helpless as the children I sought to protect. But you feel it was right to hold and direct their minds, even knowing the cost?
Well, you did not know the course then. We must often plot our courses with imperfect
A
knowledge.
tapestry woven thread by thread, never seeing the pattern.
Hmm.
So it is with the thoughts and dreams that move us, that shape our reality.
Yeah, that's a bit of the problem, isn't it?
Your words have soothed my mind in ways I did not expect. I thank you, Watcher, for the gift of your sight, for using it to guide me out of the prison of my mind. Let us hope it can also free you from the illusions Theos has woven around you.
Oh, if he can try, we are pretty assuredly going to deal with that. Did that actually finish the quest? I think that actually finished the quest then. Nice. Apart from Duran's being an obstinate asshole with his little quest,
I'm here.
I've done pretty well solving this nonsense.
Of course.
Oh boy. Do you see combat? I see combat. As you near the platform, the temperature drops sharply. Something saps every last bit of warmth from the air, leaving the breath of your lungs cold as it escapes your lips. You see a doorway filled in with glowing eyes. Silhouetted against it is an elven man, his arms outstretched.
What have you done? This useless slaughter, Please, just let me finish what we came here to do.
The bailiff turns to look at you, exhaustion written on his elegant face. He rubs one red eye with the heel of his hand. You notice that his little finger has shriveled to a blackened nub. What's going on here? Reaching Otto Rimgran, the last way we know how. Please, I must concentrate. Release your captive, Alba. She will bring the fangs down upon us. She can't leave, not until our business here is done. Trust me, they'll certainly come if you keep her here. Says it while blinking. I see your point. I see that the rest of my clan lets you, and the Glenfelsen leave in peace. I mean, you're not forcing me to fight. And I mean, I kinda got what I was trying to do. What the fuck are you trying to do, though? I'm somewhat interested. It does kinda look dangerous.